Welcome to our channel. Today we're wading into a geopolitical quagmire deeper than a Siberian oil well. The top 10 reasons why the USA seems to struggle when it comes to outmaneuvering Russia on the global stage. Now, before you start drafting strongly worded emails accusing me of treason, let's be clear. This isn't about declaring winners or losers in some imaginary geopolitical cage match. This is about understanding the complex tapestry of factors that makes this particular relationship so fraught, so tense, and frankly so consistently fascinating. So buckle up, because over the next little while we're going to dissect this tangled web of nuclear weapons, energy politics, and historical baggage with the precision of a Kremlin-backed surgeon performing a heart transplant on a bear. You know, the metaphor. Stay tuned to find out more. First up, let's address the elephant in the room, or perhaps more accurately, the bear riding a tank through the room: Russia's military might. Comparing the US and Russian militaries is like comparing apples and bears with rocket launchers. The US boasts technological superiority in a vast military-industrial complex. Russia excels in asymmetrical warfare and has a vast nuclear arsenal. They're playing chess while others are playing checkers. Russia uses its military power to achieve its objectives, like intervening in Syria or annexing Crimea. Now you might be thinking, hold on, John. Isn't Russia's economy about as stable as a unicycle on a tightrope after 12 shots of vodka? Sanctions have undoubtedly taken a bite out of the Russian economy, but Russia absorbs economic punches like a drunk bear fending off angry bees. Their control over vital resources like oil and natural gas helps. This gives them leverage, a way to exert influence. Speaking of alternatives, let's talk about friends. You know, the kind you call at 3 a.m. when you need someone to bail you out of jail? After a particularly ill-advised karaoke incident involving a Putin impersonation and a plate of nachos. The US might have NATO, but Russia's got its own posse of allies and partners, and they're not afraid to call in a favor or two. We're talking about countries like China, India, and even some unexpected players in Latin America and Africa. These relationships aren't always based on shared values or even mutual affection. It's more like a geopolitical game of risk, where everyone's looking for an edge, a strategic advantage in a world that increasingly feels like a multipolar Game of Thrones. Russia's willingness to forge these alliances, to play the long game and court countries that the US might overlook, gives them a broader reach, a more diverse set of tools in their geopolitical toolkit. Now let's talk about something that really gets the geopolitical engines revving: energy. Specifically Russia's seemingly endless reserves of oil and natural gas. It's like they won the geological lottery and then rigged the subsequent poker game just to be sure. This abundance of energy resources gives Russia an almost unfair advantage, allowing them to exert influence over energy-hungry nations like a shivering friend guarding the only space heater in a blizzard. Need to heat your homes in the dead of winter, Europe? Russia can help you with that. Looking for a reliable source of natural gas to power your industries, Asia? Russia's your guy. This energy dominance isn't just about money. It's about leverage, about having a seat at the table when decisions are being made, about being the supplier that everyone has to keep on their good side. It's the ultimate insurance policy in a world that's increasingly reliant on a finite resource. Okay, time to venture into the shadowy world of cyber warfare, where the weapons are lines of code and the battlefields are digital. And let's just say, Russia's hackers are about as subtle as a bear in a ballet studio. From election meddling to disinformation campaigns to straight-up cyber attacks, Russia has shown a willingness to use every tool in its digital arsenal to sow chaos, undermine its adversaries, and generally make life difficult for anyone they perceive as a threat. They're like the digital equivalent of that friend who knows all your passwords and isn't afraid to use them after one too many shots of vodka. Now, it's not like the US is a slouch in the cyber arena. We've got our own fair share of talented hackers and digital warriors. But Russia's approach is different. They're playing a different game, one with fewer rules and a higher tolerance for collateral damage. And that makes them a dangerous adversary in the ever-evolving landscape of cyber conflict. To truly understand the dynamics between the US and Russia, we need to take a trip down memory lane, back to a time when shoulder pads were considered fashionable, and the threat of nuclear annihilation was as commonplace as a Kardashian wedding. The Cold War, my friends, a decades-long ideological struggle that cast a long shadow over global politics and continues to shape the relationship between these two geopolitical titans. From proxy wars in Korea and Vietnam to the ever-present threat of mutually assured destruction, the Cold War instilled a deep-seated mistrust, a sense that the other side was always up to something nefarious. And while the Berlin Wall might have fallen and the Soviet Union might have dissolved, those scars, those echoes of past conflicts, continue to inform how the US and Russia view each other. It's like trying to build a friendship on a foundation of broken promises, historical grievances, and the lingering scent of borscht and freedom fries. Now let's talk about something a little closer to home, political stability. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the US political system is a well-oiled machine. We've got our fair share of dysfunction, gridlock, and politicians who seem more interested in tweeting than governing. But there's a certain level of predictability, a sense that even when things get messy, the system, however flawed, will generally hold. Russia, on the other hand, well, they've got a knack for strong man leaders, for centralized power, and for a political system that's about as transparent as a bottle of Stolichnaya. And while this can lead to a certain level of efficiency, a get-things-done mentality, it also creates a system that's vulnerable to corruption, to the whims of a single individual, and to the occasional, shall we say, disagreement being settled with a healthy dose of polonium. All right, let's talk about something that even the most skilled diplomats and cunning strategists can't overcome: geography. Russia is big, like really big. We're talking 11 time zones spanning 2 continents and bordering more countries than I've had cups of coffee this week, which is saying something. This vastness, this sprawling expanse of tundra, forest, and frozen wasteland gives Russia a natural buffer, a strategic depth that's the envy of any general worth their salt. Invading Russia is about as appealing as trying to cuddle a hibernating polar bear. It's cold, it's unforgiving, and there's a good chance you'll lose a limb or two in the process. This geographical advantage, coupled with their infamous winters, has helped Russia repel invaders for centuries, from Napoleon to Hitler, and it's a key factor in their continued geopolitical resilience. Now, let's talk about something a little squishy, a little harder to quantify, but no less important: public support. In the US, public opinion on foreign policy can be as fickle as a cat in a room full of laser pointers. One minute we're all about interventionism. The next we're chanting, "Bring the troops home." It's enough to give a president whiplash. In Russia, though, there's a deeper well of support for the government's actions, a sense of national pride and unity that transcends political differences. Part of this stems from a shared history, a sense of being surrounded by enemies and needing to project strength. Part of it is undoubtedly due to state-controlled media and a less than tolerant approach to dissent. But whatever the reason, this unwavering public support gives the Russian government a degree of flexibility, a willingness to take risks and weather storms that other leaders can only dream of. And finally, let's talk about something that often gets lost in the shuffle of military might and economic sanctions diplomacy. Russia might be known for its blunt force approach, its willingness to throw its weight around, but they're also masters of the diplomatic game, capable of playing multiple sides, cutting deals in smoke-filled rooms, and generally keeping their adversaries guessing. They're like the geopolitical equivalent of that friend who can talk their way out of any situation, who can charm the pants off you one minute and then stare you down with icy resolve the next. From their involvement in the Syrian peace process to their negotiations with Iran, Russia has shown a deft hand at diplomacy, often achieving their objectives through cunning and strategy rather than brute force. They understand that in the world of international relations, sometimes the most effective weapon is a well-placed whisper, a carefully crafted agreement, or a strategically timed handshake. So there you have it, the top 10 reasons why going toe-to-toe with Russia on the geopolitical stage is about as fun as a weekend getaway with a tax auditor. It's complicated, it's messy, and it's a relationship that's likely to define global politics for decades to come. The key takeaway here isn't about declaring a winner or a loser in some imaginary geopolitical cage match. It's about understanding the complexities, the nuances, the historical baggage that informs this often contentious relationship. Because in a world where the stakes are high and the consequences are real, a little bit of understanding can go a long way. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.